Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about multiplying like we have been, but this time you may need to rewrite them. All the problems we did in the last lesson, when you finished multiplying, they were already in scientific notation. Now they might not be, so we need to figure out how we can tell if they're written in scientific notation. Remember that when it's written in scientific notation, it's going to look like a number times a power of 10. This number needs to be at least 1, but less than 10. So that's what we're going to look for. So looking at this one is not in scientific notation. So this is not. If it was in standard form, we would move that decimal place 3 places, so it would look like that. And then to put it in scientific notation, we'd have to move it back 1, 2, 3, 4. 1.323 times 10 to the 4th. So here we moved it 1 lower and the exponent got 1 higher. This one right here, this number, 2.35, 2 is between 1 and 10. So yes, this is in scientific notation. Problem 3, no, this is not in scientific notation because 0.5 is less than 1. To put it in standard form, we'd have to move that decimal place 3 places. So it would look like this, 1, 2, 3, 500. And to put it back in scientific notation, 5 times 10 to the, we would have to move it 2 times. So we made the decimal 1 larger and this 1 smaller. Question 4, yes is in scientific notation, and this part, but this is not a power of 10. So the 6.1 could stay the same, but 10 to the third is like 100 to the third is like 10 to the 4th. And question 5, yes, this is in scientific notation. That part of it is because it's between 1 and 10, and this is a power of 10. So that is a yes. Remember, for this unit, I'm expecting you to do IXL G, scientific notation. I'm not requiring a 100-point SMART score because I know that it boots you back down quite a bit if you miss one and you're to the top, but it would like it at least 86 plus for all the SMART scores for scientific notation. So like in the last lesson, to multiply, we're going to multiply the decimal numbers, add the exponents, and then make sure it's written in scientific notation. So we regrouped, we multiplied, and then here it's written incorrectly, so we had to make it correct. So one way that you can think about this, instead of writing it out in standard form like I did the last time, a shortcut is when you make the decimal smaller, the power of 10 gets larger by the same value. If you make the decimal larger, the power of 10 gets smaller by the same value. And I'll show you what I mean. So all of these problems are already multiplied. All we have to do is make sure they're in scientific notation. So here, 14.3 is not in scientific notation because we need it to be between 1 and 10. So we had to move the decimal 1 smaller. If we make it 1 smaller, then we make the exponent 1 bigger. And I really like to write it out like I did right here. I moved it 1 smaller, so I had to make it 1 bigger. So I'm not doing this in my head. If I go through the process, I write it down so I can see what I am doing. Here, for this problem, we need, this 314 is not between 1 and 10. 31.4 is not between 1 and 10, but 3.14 is. So 3.1462 times, we made this 2 smaller, so we have to make the exponent 2 larger. And again, if this doesn't make sense to you, please take the time to actually write it out in standard form and double check yourself. For this problem, we have to make the decimal 3 smaller, so we have to make the exponent 3 larger. And another way to think about this is if we had gone 3 this way to make it in standard form, then we would have had to come back 6 to make it in scientific notation. Here we have to make the decimal 2 places smaller, so we have to make this one 2 places bigger. -3 plus 2, don't forget your exponent rules, is a -1. Let's practice some more with negatives and positive exponents. Can you please pause and see if you can put these in scientific notation yourself and then check back. Alright, so here I hope you noticed that you needed to make this the decimal part 2 smaller, so the exponent had to be 2 bigger. 3.4596 times 10 to the -5 plus 2, unlike signs, you subtract, and there's more negatives, so your new exponent is going to be -3. This one you have to just make the decimal 1 place smaller, so it's 2.8893. And again, the reason you have to do that is because this is not between 1 and 10. So we made it 1 smaller, so we have to make this 1 larger. -3 plus 1, and again I write it out so I can see it. Unlike signs, we subtract, and there's more negatives. So my new exponent is -2. And that's the same with this one. We had to make the decimal 1 smaller, so we have to make my exponent 1 larger. -6 plus 1, unlike signs, we subtract, and there's more negatives. The next example, we have to move the decimal place 3 places this time. So 3.1569 times 10 to the, we made it 3 smaller, so we have to make the exponent 3 larger. Alright, so what you're going to be doing for most of your assignment, is like yesterday, multiplying by regrouping, multiplying, but then you have to make sure it's in scientific notation. So 3, we're going to regroup, times 4.5 times 10 to the first times 10 to the -10th. And then we're going to multiply. If you need to do it off to the side, you may. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2 is 17. 4 times 5 is 20. Carry the 2. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 2 is 14. And then you add. So I have 1, 5, 7, 5. There's 2 decimal places here, so there has to be 2 in my answer. So 15.75 times 10 to the, and if you're multiplying powers with the same base, you add. So now we have 1 plus -10. Unlike signs, you subtract, and there's more negatives. And then lastly, I'm going to check, is it in scientific notation? It is not, because 15 is not between 1 and 10, so I have to make my decimal 1 smaller. 1.575 times 10 to the, we made it 1 smaller, so we have to make this 1 larger. Unlike signs, we subtract, and there's more negatives. So my final answer is this. So again, what we did was we regrouped, putting the decimals next to each other in the powers of 10. We multiplied, and feel free to use a calculator for the multiplication part. And then we multiplied powers with the same base, so we added, and then we looked to see if it was in scientific notation. It wasn't. We had to make the decimal 1 place value smaller, so we had to make the exponents 1 place value larger. We out.